Are we rolling? Hello, boys and girls. Your old pal Stevie Coyle here at Mighty Fine Guitars. Got something very special for you today. We've got a guest. Turning into Mr. Rogers before my very ears. This is Andy Norell. He is one of the inventors of this magic red box here called ToneDexter. Now, what it does, Andy, what does it do?
I'm not sure. Actually, it's a.
Make something up.
Okay, I'll make something. It's a smart preamp. It. Some of us don't like piezo quack very much.
Right.
Some of us, the three of us, I work with a company called Audio Sprockets. There are 3 sprocketeers in the company, and none of us really liked piezo quack very much. And none of us we kept buying stuff to fix it, and we weren't really getting there. Coincidentally, we're all engineers, and at some point we decided, why don't we just fix it? Come on, how hard can it be? That was 4 years ago.
Well, yeah. So it was 4 years hard, and people have been trying to solve the problem of the barnyard noises coming out of your guitar for years, quacking and honking and squeaking and
20 in my case. So
yeah.
Anyway, so what this box has in it, has all the regular preamp sort of features you would expect. It's got a tuner, it's got tone controls, it has a boost button. It has 1/4 inch and XLR outputs to go to stage monitor and PA, and it takes in the piezo input in this input here, but it also takes in a mic, and the purpose of the mic is to train the box. The box listens to the guitar from 2 different sources, the pickup output and the microphone output, and when you push the train button, it analyzes while you play, analyzes not what you play, you can play all wrong notes, but it analyzes while you play and determines why the pickup sound doesn't sound like the mic, does the math, and fixes it. Then you store the result, and when you go somewhere to play, you're good to go. In fact, you're 22 such goods to go because you can store 22 of them.
22 images of the same guitar?
Or whatever. It can be mandos, violins, double bass, dobro, whatever. A reasonable stringed instrument, ukuleles too, with a piezo pickup.
Right.
And so you can train all of those, all the above, and store those results. Now, a caveat, for double bass, there's a special software version that will reach way down to about 16 hertz to solve the problem, whereas on a guitar, you don't have much of interest below about 40 hertz to deal with. So,
do you get a separate box for that? Do you get a
same box? It's just different firmware. The firmware is available on our website for free. All of our upgrades are free. So there's actually 3 versions of the firmware. There's for general, we call it Gen, but it's for mainly guitars. Then there's an HGH for high, which is higher instruments like fiddles, mandos, and so on. Then there's one that's for bass, which is for lower register instruments. And you can pick one and put it in the box. The difference between Gen and high is minimal. It's really there's a notch filter for dealing with feedback, and I changed the range of notch for banjos, mandos, etc., because they are much more treble instruments.
Right.
Troublesome, yeah, something.
Yes, they are.
So the notch frequencies are higher, and the EQs might be higher. I forget. That's kind of silly since I did the software, but whatever. And for bass, the EQs are dropped an octave, so the low. They're shelving EQs, and they are at 62.5 hertz and 1,000 hertz for the high. Double those numbers for Gen, and double those and high. Anyway, so there's some parameter changes, but same box. You can load whichever firmware version in it you would like.
Right.
And it'll store 22 wave maps. We call the coefficient sets that we use to solve the problem are called wave maps. So 22 wave maps can be stored in the box. That's mainly a limitation of the dial that controls it, which goes from 1 to 11. And then there's a switch on the back, A-B switch, to get 12 through 22. Why 11? Spinal Tap.
Silly question.
I don't know why.
Sorry to ask it.
The switch manufacturers make one that goes 1 to 11, so we bought it.
That's fantastic.
So anyway, it trains up with any reasonable piezo pickup works. Some work better than others. And any reasonable mic will work. Again, some work better than others. I trained this guitar on an SM81 Shure, which is a very good mic. It's about $350. I've also trained numerous guitars on SM57s, 58s, Audix OM3s, 5s, whatever, and you get quite usable results. They're not quite as crisp as one of these. It's very hard to tell when you're playing in a hall through a PA because the highs get kind of kicked anyway by the ambient noise and absorbing materials in the hall.
Like the people.
And the people, yeah. So that's the story. We started this about 4 years ago, and how hard can it be? Typical thing. Well, you know, it's hard. The devil's in the details, and I kept refining it, you know, making it a little better and a little better, and then we finally released the product in this form about April, I guess. We started shipping in April, and so we've sold several hundred. And they are being used by some pretty high-profile people.
Such as?
Well, such as Alison Krauss's whole band, Mark O'Connor's whole band, John Jorgensen, Peter Frampton. There are numerous others, but I'm name-dropping here. So
that's perfect.
Shut
We
up.
want that. You mentioned John Jorgensen. Can you tell the folks what you were telling me about what he's doing with his old recordings?
Oh, John Jorgensen has taken to reprocessing things that were recorded direct to panel, like lots of piezo quack situations, and so he runs them through our box here, and he's trained it on numerous guitars, so he runs it through our box and picks one that he thinks sounds good and re-records it so that it sounds like an acoustic instrument instead of a quackmeister that it started out being.
Yeah.
And I've recorded numerous tracks direct to DAW with this thing, and I don't really need to do much. It's not exactly equal to the mic sound. I sometimes argue it's a little better, sometimes not quite as good. But what it doesn't have is any coughs, clicks, foot stomps, people in the other parts of my house telling me to stop playing and do something useful. And
Yes.
the things that I don't want recorded
Right.
are not being recorded. So it's a useful tool for that. And to that end, sorry.
No, go ahead.
Oh, okay. The processing that we do in this box also does some feedback mitigation, because since I've thoroughly analyzed the instrument by the time it's trained, there are hot spots that can be treated before the wave map is stored, and we do. And those help with feedback, and it's generally better than the pickup you're using. Feedback immunity is generally better. If you want the most mic-like sound, however, you can record your wave map on setting number 22, which can be obtained thus.
Can you come in and get a look at this?
If you train on
Thank you.
position 22, we don't do any feedback mitigation. So it is the most mic-like sound you can get out of our box. And sometimes that's desirable, but the feedback immunity is not as good as the other settings. But we put it in there as a feature for people that want to record directly from it. And sometimes I use that, sometimes not. Sometimes I like the sound a little better when the feedback is mitigated because it's essentially what a recording engineer would do in a studio is he would take off your hot spots. If you were mic'd, he would still take off the hot spots because it doesn't record very well when you don't. So anyway, that's what it does. It has a high-powered digital signal processor in it that does the heavy lifting, and also has a tuner which has a very high-powered signal processor to run because it's not doing anything else when you're tuning. And it has the usual features you would expect. For example, there's a boost. As you can see, I just boosted into the feedback ozone.
That's boosty.
Yeah, but anyway,
Big boost.
you can set how much boost you want with this knob and back it was set to max. It goes from 0 to 8 dB. And so that's the feature that a lot of these preamps have, and we included it. It has a tuner that's 1 cent accurate, so when it stops rotating, you're within 1 cent of perfect. And it also has EQs, so that when you dial in treble, let's say you want 5 dB of treble, it tells you it's 5 dB, whatever, as you scroll through it. And if you want bass, same difference. And you can tell what your notch frequency is as you clobber the notch, you dial it, and it's reading it out. So you'll know next time, in case you want to know.
But the proof is in the pudding, folks.
It's about sound.
It's about sound. A gentleman online said, is he going to demo it? Is he going to demo it?
Oh, yes.
So,
Okay, so now bear in mind that the sound you're getting through this setup is not the same as you would get if you were got a high quality recording and listened to it with headphones. You may get a flavor though of what it does. In the studio we can tell, but I think I'll let the real guitar player play.
no, do your thing. Do your thing.
I'll pretend that I know how to play for a minute. So,
Cut that out.
okay. Anyway, so this is it's trained up on this guitar, which I think this has an unspecified undersaddle pickup.
Yes, and the gentleman told me, and I've forgotten, this guitar is called a Via Cali, built by a gentleman named Sang in Winters. I don't know what it is about kind of that Winters, Sacramento area, something in the water over there. There's all kinds of luthiers out there building great stuff.
There
this
are.
is called a Via Cali. It's a terrific guitar.
Yeah, so it has a pickup in it. It's actually got a neat feature. It's got a monitor sound holes at the top,
That's right.
which is pretty nice when you're playing it.
It really is.
Because you get a little better feel of what it's sounding like. It has a volume control, so it's an active pickup, and I don't know what type. Looks to me to be under saddle, I would say. Anyway, so
It's well, go ahead, Andy.
Okay, now if we didn't have this box,
Right.
you could push this button here and it bypasses our box. So it's dead. I mean,
That's the sound that we've all said, we've been told is what an acoustic guitar sounds like plugged in. It doesn't have to sound like that, with that hard mid-range, very square sort of sounding thing. It's really tough to talk about sound, but it sounds square. This has got roundness and depth and body resonance.
So anyway, it does that, and we also have another little feature here because people asked. It's called the character knob, and you can dial back out some of the emphatic resonance of the guitar. If you're playing in a big, lively hall, you can dial it. Normal setting is 2, and that's the full body of the guitar is represented. If you dial it back to 1 or 0, the tonal balance is unchanged, but the reverberation length is squeezed so that it sounds a little punchier. So when you're playing solos or something, it's potentially punchier. And yeah, that's the story.
How long did it take you to? Because I'm sure folks are going to ask, and perhaps they have. I'll get to the comments and questions in just a second, folks. But how long did it take you to train up the guitar? It
2
took about
minutes.
2 minutes?
Yeah, the minimum is 1 minute and 40 seconds, and it doesn't matter what you play within reason, as long as you don't overload the preamp. We have these LEDs here to tell you if the red light's coming on all the time, you're saturating the input of this box, which you see on most preamps.
Yeah, right.
So as long as you don't do that, you can play whatever. You can play 100% wrong notes, and I need that feature myself. And they can also be out of tune, although you have a tuner here, so there's no real good excuse for being out of tune.
Puts extra pressure on you to have a tuner on there.
Yeah, it does. But anyway, so you can play anything you want. I played okay, I should say there are 2 sequences involved in training. There's a segment that's about 20 seconds long, which is level setting. And during the level setting phase, we set the preamp gain of the mic. The mic path the preamp is automatically set so that the level of the mic preamp output equals the level of the pickup preamp output. And this is because it trains better when you do that. So,
and the player just needs to play. That happens while you're playing.
So, but it is a display that says LV when you're doing that, which we can do that if we want.
Level.
So it says level, and it takes about 20 seconds. Once the level is set, then it's doing normal training. It didn't play anything you want. It's basically just play stuff, chords, single notes, whatever, anything that you think would be like you like to play your guitar, for about another 1.5 minutes-ish, and it'll count up from 1, 2, 3, 4 up to 9, and when it gets to 10, then it doesn't actually display 10, it just displays that it's done. And then you can audition it to listen. You can listen to the microphone output, the trained output, or the raw pickup output, so you get to compare those things. If you like it, then you hold down that button here, and it stores it in the location of your choice. So generally, people experiment some with mic position, and this is like an art, So, and you may find different positions on different guitars. You almost surely will. But you'll find some position probably similar to what a studio engineer would select for your guitar, and use that, train it, and you'll generally be pretty happy. We have lots of people are.
It really works, folks. I got to tell you, I got myself one of these, and let me show you the guitar that actually I'm using. I'll be using this with my regular Thompson acoustic guitar as well, that I'm going to have rigged up. For years I've had my guitar rigged up with a Sunrise pickup. Will this work with a magnetic pickup as well?
It won't train very well with a magnetic pickup.
Yeah, right.
But you may get, if you train it with a piezo pickup guitar, you may like the sound out of a magnetic. I do that. I have a jazz box. It's a Guild Starfire 4, which is magnetic, and it doesn't train well. It doesn't really have any acoustic sound of its own.
Yeah.
However, I train it on a Collings that I've got, a Collings OM, and I play the magnetic pickup Guild through it. It sounds pretty good.
Tell you what.
I can even play an electric bass. I have a Fender jazz bass. I play through it through the same wave map. It sounds pretty good. It's punchier than a normal bass sound.
Fantastic.
Which may or may not be desirable.
Right.
And I have a friend who uses this with a double bass. He trained it on the double bass, and he likes it a lot. Chris Stapleton's bass player uses one of these. And we're kind of just getting started marketing it to non-guitar instruments, but we have so far gotten people with banjos, mandos, fiddles, double basses, I think a dobro. I don't know about ukuleles yet, maybe.
Yeah.
We don't hear everybody who buys them. They don't necessarily tell us what they're doing with it, but we do get comments and stuff.
Fantastic. Andy was kind enough to come into the shop the other day and train up a guitar that just actually got sold here. It was a beautiful Loudon F35X, fantastic thing. And he trained it up for me because I had thought I wanted to for this big stage band I'm playing with. wanted to use this guitar, which in this shop is kind of ridiculous, but it's kind of ridiculous anyway.
Sacrilege, you know.
Religiousness. It's a Parker Fly from 1999, I believe, and it does have an undersaddle pickup here. So what I'm doing is using my ToneDexter to generate the sound of a Loudon F35X, and it works. It really works. I plug in this guitar, and once, you know, when I have the switch in the proper position to activate just the piezo pickup here, out from the speakers comes the sound of this big, beautiful guitar with body resonance in there and everything. It's quite astonishing. And then when I need to, I flip the switch forward and I can, you know, I can rock out. Well, if I could rock out, I could rock out.
Yeah, I could say the same.
You know.
But about me, not you. You can rock out.
With the proper devices, I can rock out.
Yeah.
With a lot of help. But that's how versatile the unit is. ToneDexter, check it out at audiosprockets.com. And I'm so sorry, I promised you I would check and see if there are any questions. Ducky, have we got questions and comments?
Oh, yeah, one other, just before I throw it.
Of course.
Our company consists of 3 guys. James May is one, and the idea was originally his, and he recruited me into this folly. And then myself, and then another guy named Michael Seidman, who's an old friend that I've worked with since sometime in the early 90s. And we're all, the responsibility broke down along roughly the lines of, I did the signal processing software, James did the hardware design, and Michael did the user interface design, which is what you see and feel and touch and so on. And by the way, the Preamp hardware is extremely quiet. I would put it up against any other Preamp, even if they're pure analog, so for what it's worth.
I've been hugely impressed with that as well. On my old pedal board, I had one of those cool little ART tube amps things at $39, but they sound great. And I understand that Richard Thompson used them with his Sunrise pickup. And I asked Andy the other day, this is a preamp as well, right? And he said, yeah, try it out, see what you think. Fantastic. Even better than the tube amplifier. Well, yes, we have a question from the back.
Retail $3.99. And they are for sale here in this very locale.
They're for sale here and online at audiosprockets.com. Just if you buy there, tell them Stevie sent you. And my goodness, it's for $400, which is much less than the original ToneDexter was offered for.
Yeah, I didn't mention that. There was a first-gen version of this thing, which we didn't actually release into production because it was too hard to manufacture at a sensible price. It was going to have to sell for $600 or $700, and it was too complicated for us to want to build. So we redesigned it. This is Gen 2, which is our first actual for sale offering.
And it's a nice sturdy metal box. All the dials are labeled. It's easy. It's intuitive. If you used anything else, the intuitiveness of this is great. You kind of know how to use it without even cracking the manual, although it really helps to crack the manual. Yes. More questions.
Is that enough of a demo? Is that sufficient?
Do you want to play some more?
How about you play something?
Oh, well, I'll play then.
You actually know how to play.
The demo itself mostly would consist of you watching numbers go around for 2 minutes, because that's pretty much what you do.
You want to demo that very thing?
You plug in the
training.
Well, we could. Let's do a little training thing, as if we hadn't trained this one already.
Okay,
but
so
here it comes. You probably want to come in closer, Ducky. Thanks.
This is
Folks, that's what I had for Miss Valerie, mistress of the machines here.
All right.
Thank you very much.
Okay, so all right. So this microphone, as you can see, is overhead, pointing down at roughly this junction here, which is one of my favorite ways to mic a guitar. There are lots, different opinions, but that's the way I prefer. So that's the way it's set up, and it's now ready to tune. And when you, for the first segment, just play an E chord until this LV thing is done.
It's matching levels, right?
Yeah, so it's doing the level thing. Okay, that's done. It's the level matching is complete. Now you can just knock yourself out.
Here, folks. It'll tell us when it's done. The suspense is killing me. So I'm just playing in the box. I punched one, Randy punched one button on the box, and off we went.
Okay, it has train, so with headphones I can hear. You know, if you were using this, you could hear how it did, and it did quite well. And I can rotate through. Okay, that's the microphone. So go ahead and play, Steve. Okay, so that's what the microphone sounds like. That's the pickup. That's the ToneDexter train result. I'm going to store it. Okay, it is stored, and we're now hearing it through the amp.
Good heavens.
So that sounds pretty good.
And even though there's a microphone in the picture here, that microphone is not on right now. You would not take a microphone to the gig with you. You would take a ToneDexter and a 1/4-inch cable. Come out of your pickup like you always do. But suddenly your guitar sounds like it's mic'd. It sounds like a guitar. It sounds like a guitar heard out in front the way God intended.
Instead of...
And there's that sound. There's that sound that MTV and MTV Unplugged convinced us all was the sound of an acoustic guitar amplified. No.
They lied.
They lied.
They didn't know it. Sure. Okay, this is bypassed, meaning it's a raw pickup, amplified.
It's got the zzzz. That's not what a B string sounds like. That's what a B string sounds like. There's the bypass. Big mid-range, square.
Yeah, it's
sound.
very brash.
This has got body resonance. You can hear that. Can we listen to the character differences here?
Yeah, I don't know if it'll come through this mic.
Yeah, perhaps not.
It's kind of subtle, but okay. This is full body on the instrument. This is medium. This is minimum.
Yeah, I hear you.
So if you're playing in a hall, you're probably going to want this because the tonal balance is all set, but it just doesn't ring as long. You
decide you need a little more of this or that, a little less, you can adjust here. A little more treble, please. I'm not sure why I'd want that, but sure enough. Brightness. Well, that bass is a little fat for my taste. Let's take that down 3 dB.
Yeah, one thing we learned from the original box, which had a 3-band parametric EQ, our beta users said, no, we don't need it. We don't use it.
Yeah.
The thing fixes it. So, thanks, but we don't need it.
Right. Just a little bass and treble is probably all you're going to need. And you get to carry the sound of your own guitar with you. This is not like the Fishman box, is it? Where it's...
Well, we're not going to mention any brand names here.
Brand names, we won't use the F word.
Right, but,
which is a fine box. It's a fine box for what it does, but it does a different thing altogether.
Yeah. In their defense, they will make you a custom image, what they call an image, if you mail your $24,000 guitar to Massachusetts. Are you going to do that? Maybe if you live nearby, you can drive over.
Drive it over, sure, from Ohio.
Yeah. However, for most of us, we basically give you the lab. They have a lab where they can train and store the image, but we just give you the lab because that's kind of inconvenient.
Yeah, yeah. And this way it's your guitar. The Fishman boxes, the F boxes, which are great for what they do, it's a picture of somebody else's great guitar. And this is, one of the reasons you bought your guitar is because presumably you fell in love with it in some way. And wouldn't it be great to take that with you to a gig and just plug this between you and the PA and off you go?
Yeah, so our slogan should be, get the sound you paid for.
That's right. That's right.
Whatever.
I must be crazy. I'm selling these for $400, $399. And like Andy said, they're available here at Mighty Fine Guitars, and they'll be available elsewhere as well, and certainly off of the audiosprockets.com website. Go there and you can get all the specs. There are other demos available there.
And there's a dealer in Switzerland. We sent them 12, and they were gone in about 4 days.
Very good. Can't let Switzerland
Whatever
get ahead
that's
of us. America first. Fantastic. Thanks for tuning in, folks. Andy Norrell, one of the inventors of ToneDexter, and thanks for tuning in. And this will be up, and feel free to forward this. You can share this video. If there's somebody you want, you can share with it in Messenger, Facebook Messenger. You can post it on your wall, if that's what we're still calling it, on your timeline. And by all means, talk up the ToneDexter. And if you're close by here, come on in and check one out, because I'll have one set up and kind of ready to go. All right. See y'all at Hardly Strictly Bluegrass. All right, folks.